Welcome to Northwest Digital News. I'm Kevin Hunter with Kyle Torgerson in studio. Chris Bornstead is off today. It is Monday, May 21st. And we're going to have some conversation around National Military Appreciation Month here in just a moment. But before we do that, Kyle, kick us off with a good weather report.
Okay, today's going to be a high of 74 with low 48. There's going to be clouds in the morning, but it looks like there's going to be sun later in the day. Tomorrow's going to be 83, which I'm pretty excited for, but it looks like once we hit Thursday, clouds are going to come in, and then Saturday is going to rain.
Well, that's nice. Did you notice we were out at the beach yesterday? Were you following it all online?
No. I
posted some footage of Jackie out with the horses, and I think I put one about Allison and Jackie playing in the sand. They just had a blast out there. So even though it was a cooler day, talking about 83 degrees tomorrow, that's a great day to head out to the ocean. But yesterday was in the 50s, if you recall, and we went out there and it was still gorgeous. So, yeah.
Did you hear about the horse that was found in an apartment building? No one knows how it got in there. I think it was like on the 3rd floor or 2nd floor. It had food, it had water, it was all set, but no one knows how it got there.
Where was this at?
I read the article. I forgot where, but I will find it and probably talk about it on Friday.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. Actually, we're not going to say where we're headed to yet, but on Friday we will be road tripping.
Oh, yeah.
That is right. We'll be on the road on Friday, and we're going to share some live footage from our Friday trip. You know, you're going to be very interested in some of the stuff we have to. So, yeah, Michael says, Kyle, you missed your calling. You would make a good weatherman.
I mean, I could still try. I could still go in. So, I mean,
yeah,
I can read pretty well. So just give me a teleprompt. I'm good.
Yeah. He graduated from Kelso High School, so he does know how to read.
When it comes to numbers, not so much. I'm a drummer, of course. So
you count to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about it.
All right, very cool. Well, we're going to have some conversation around National Military Appreciation Month. This is a month that's of interest to me, being prior service myself. But you may or may not have known, because everybody is aware of Memorial Day, which is always the last Monday of the month. This year will be on May 28th. But there are several days of military recognition that happen during the month of May. And so the first one was Tuesday, May 1st. That was Loyalty Day. And then on Sunday, May 6th through Saturday, May 12th, there was Public Service Recognition Week. So that covered that week. Then there was Victory in Europe Day, also known as VE Day or VE. And that was May 8th, Tuesday, May 8th. Then Military Spouse Appreciation Day was on Friday, May 11th. And just this past Saturday was Armed Forces Day on May 19th. And our Vice President Mike Pence had some comments to make regarding that this weekend. So go ahead and roll that video, Kyle.
The bond between the United States and Japan has never been stronger. To this day, our alliance is the cornerstone of peace, prosperity, and freedom in the Indo-Pacific. Yokota Air Base is a citadel of strength and a symbol to the world that we will ensure our peace and security through superiority and power. Together with our allies and partners, we will continue to strive to peacefully dismantle North Korea's nuclear program and alleviate the suffering of its people. Let the world know we are ready for any eventuality. All options are on the table. To any who would threaten our people or allies, know this. Under this Commander-in-Chief, with the greatest fighting force in the world, the United States is ready. Ready to defend our homeland, defend our allies, anytime, anywhere. And together, we will forge a future of security, prosperity, and peace for both of our nations for generations to come.
Vice President Mike Pence talking about Armed Forces Day there in recognition of Armed Forces. He was at the Yokota Air Base in Japan. Now, a lot of people have questions. You know, why is it so significant? Why is it even important to have these various days of recognition. Well, you know what? Being prior service myself, I was aware of many different soldiers, some in units, I was connected with, and others in the area. But I was one of the soldiers who was still stateside during some of the overseas deployment because I was running the recruit sustainment program, and because I had great results reducing what's called shipper's loss. So shipper's loss is the number of soldiers that get enlisted in the military and then never reach a point of being able to be deployed. So they don't make it either through basic training or they don't make it through advanced individual training, AIT, commonly known as. And so soldiers that didn't complete that process were called a shipper's loss, and shipper's loss was quite high in the state of Minnesota when I took over the RSP camp. It was in the double digits, 20 something, I believe, 24, 25%, somewhere in that neighborhood. And I got the shipper's loss of our camp down to 8% in that first year and 5% in the subsequent years. And so I became this person they wouldn't send overseas somewhere. So it was like, you're not going anywhere. You're more valuable back home than you are overseas. But I was aware of many of the troops that did get deployed overseas and where they went and places they went. And I attended several funerals back home side for soldiers that didn't come back, that paid the ultimate sacrifice. So for people that wonder, is the vice president making a big deal over nothing? You simply don't have the context or the background to even understand why appreciation for people in armed forces, veterans, etc., is important. Let's roll this story. This is a story about Gabe Condi. It just aired here just recently. A soldier who was deployed overseas, ready to come back home. In fact, he was on his last mission and ends up paying the ultimate sacrifice that does happen for soldiers who are deployed. Go ahead and roll that video, Kyle.
Tonight, Colorado prepares to say its final respects to a hero.
Flags flew, horns honked, and people cried as the procession for Gabe Condi wound through northern Colorado today.
They should be planning his homecoming, not his funeral.
The track star turned Army specialist was only 22 years old. Tonight, his parents open up for the first time only on Denver 7.
Last year, he came home right before Mother's Day, and we had such a great time. It was the best Mother's Day ever. And this year will be the worst.
Gabe Condi's mother called the news of Gabe's death the worst day of her life. When I sat down with Don and Bob Condi this week.
I'm glad you're with us this evening. We've got a lot to cover tonight, and it is just impossible to imagine the pain of losing a child. And military families deal with that possibility every day, praying for their children's safety from thousands of miles away.
And tonight, as the Condis share their story, we all feel a sense of grief at their loss. We also want to honor the 22-year-old Army specialist who laid it all on the line. Gabe Condi went nowhere without his white hat. It was the trademark of this proud Coloradan.
When he wasn't, it didn't have to be in his military gear, he was wearing his cowboy boots and hat. Even if he had on shorts, sometimes he wore his cowboy boots.
Bob and Donna proudly show pictures of their boy, the oldest of 3, from the time he was a baby to his track years and senior picture from Berthoud High in 2014, where Gabe was a standout student. He went to School of Mines but wanted to enlist and did. 1 year later, his parents always knew Gabe was destined to be in the Army.
We taught him you never hit girls, you fiercely protect your sisters anytime, and he took that to heart. And love your family, love your country, love God most of all. And he took all of those to heart. And he lived it to his very last day.
Gabe's unit, based in Alaska, had been in Afghanistan since September, part of Operation Freedom Sentinel, and had just one more mission before heading home. He sent a text to his parents.
We are about to embark on a quest. please pray that it is lively and God is glorified. And I was excited for him because he really wanted to do one last mission before they left.
A 22-year-old from Loveland paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Tonight we are learning more about Gabriel Conde. He died in Afghanistan on Monday. He was killed after getting hit by enemy fire.
I heard the heavy tread of footsteps across the deck and saw their silhouettes in the door. Felt devastated before I even opened it and saw who I knew it was. I was like, no, 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 no. This is not supposed to happen. He was gonna come home alive. He told me he would come home alive.
The text just said, emergency, come home now.
Worst day of my life.
And so began the heartbreaking rituals for a heartbroken military family. They were at Dover Air Base when Gabe landed on U.S. soil to witness the intimacy of the dignified transfer ceremony, the careful ritual of bringing our war dead home, and joining a club no one ever wants to be a part of.
This is a gold star that was given to me by another Gold Star mom.
Yet finding comfort at home, neighbors lined their street with flags, trees wrapped in red, white, and blue, signs of patriotism and gratitude for a fallen hero.
Made me cry when I saw him first.
Me too.
And the Conde family takes comfort in knowing Gabe had found purpose in Afghanistan.
We knew that we raised the kind of young man that would give his life for another. That's why it was so hard to say goodbye to him.
And if they had reservations about why the U.S. was in Afghanistan,
A year ago, I was there. I was going, why? Why are we there? I know now.
Gabe's passion for the people, the beauty of the country, and his desire to work alongside Afghan soldiers to defeat the Taliban changed that.
I know Gabe was sent there, I believe, by God, to be there at that time, to do the work he was doing, protecting those innocent people in Afghanistan.
The boy in the white hat, who became a man in uniform, is a true Colorado hero. And there is now a family fund set up in Gabe Conde's name. We've posted that link and information on our website and on the free Denver 7 app. And so many of you want to know how you can watch or attend tomorrow's funeral. There will be a public service tomorrow at 1 o'clock at the Lifebridge Christian Church in Longmont, and we will be live streaming the service.
So that was Gabe Conde, and yeah, that gives people some perspective of why recognition of armed forces is so important, because if you don't have any military family, you don't have anything to put it in context, helps you understand a little bit. And having been prior service myself, I can tell you that some of the best experiences of my lifetime were had in uniform. Still think back to the great experiences and the great both men and women that I met in armed forces. And I used to say this every month we got a new batch of soldiers that came in, and I would share this with them, that I'd tell them when we were in formation outside that many Americans pledge allegiance to the flag, but few Americans have the courage to put that pledge into action. And so these men and women were Americans who put that pledge into action, joined the armed forces, and some, in Gabe Conde's case, pay the ultimate price for their dedication to freedom and protecting what we have here as Americans today. Well, we're going to move on to another story. This is actually a very interesting story that took place a number of years ago. And so you notice in our show title, it says NBC's history of not fake news. This is actually fraudulent news. So I'm going to set this up a little bit, and then we'll share this with you. So this actually goes back a number of years, but with everybody hearing so much about fake news in today's media, I want you to know that all this highly politicized media that became super apparent in 2006 and then very unapologetically plowed headlong into their own demise in 2017 and again here in 2018. We saw this just the other day with not only all the mainstream media, but several senators, including Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, talking about Donald Trump calling immigrants animals when clearly they knew what he was talking about. MS-13 gang members, for people who didn't follow the story. And yeah, as many people have said, that if the distinction of animals cannot be used to describe MS-13 gang members, then there certainly is no level of despicable human being anywhere on the planet that the title of animals should be bestowed upon. These are terrible, terrible people. Well, anyway, so we've seen evidence of all that highly politicized news. It's led to a ton of biased news, a ton of fake news. Well, I just wanted to share with people here today and with our viewers that the history of not just fake news, but even fraudulent news actually goes back a number of years in several news networks. And this one that we're going to share with you today comes from NBC. And what NBC wanted to do, what they're attempting to do, this is 1993. So think of how many years that is ago. Go ahead, Kyle, do the math.
Well, it's more than 4.
Yeah, that's great. Try 15, maybe. 93 to 18, not 15. What it would be, like another... Okay, while Kyle's thinking about that, would it be 25? What do you think?
Oh.
25.
25.
Okay, 1993 to 18. So it'd be 18 plus 7, 25. All right, so let's I'm gonna just to give you a little background. What NBC was trying to do, because apparently they needed a news story on back in February 1993, they decided to prove that Chevy trucks, if they were broadsided, would burst into flames. So these are all trucks from the 1973 model all the way through 1987. And they wanted to create a study or proof that these trucks were unsafe and claimed that their gas tanks would explode upon side impact. Now, you've heard of vehicles that actually do explode on impact. Well, the Chevy truck has never been one of them. So here's what they did. They bring in a safety bureau, and I forget which one. It'll mention this on this video. They bring in a safety bureau, and then they also bring in a crew of firefighters. And so this thing is set up by these folks from the safety bureau. And then NBC makes sure the tank of gas in the truck is filled up to the top and even over brimming, and then puts the wrong cap on it so that if it's even bumped a little bit, the cap will pop off and gas will shoot out of, like a little juice bag. Gas will shoot out of the tank and all over on the side of the vehicle that they're striking this from. And then just to make sure that there was a fire, they put incendiary devices under the truck. Now, I don't know of anybody, if you had no history of side collision with your truck or no leaky gas tank or anything, would you be going around with, incendiary devices under your vehicle for any reason whatsoever?
I mean, there is one reason you do it, to cause explosions and fire.
To cause an explosion, yeah. So I'm wondering how many of these trucks from 73 to 87 were equipped, factory equipped with incendiary devices under the truck.
It's like the little G.I. Joe dolls with kung fu grip.
Yeah. So anyway, this wasn't fake news. This was pure, unadulterated fraud. And they got busted when one of the firefighters on the site contacted GM and said, you got to look at this because this is completely bogus. And of course, they were doing this to create a news story and disparage General Motors. Roll the video.
Dateline NBC, a primetime news program, airs a story in 1992 entitled Waiting to Explode. The story includes footage demonstrating that a line of trucks produced by General Motors readily explode on impact.
To see for ourselves what might happen in a side impact crash, Dateline NBC hired the Institute for Safety Analysis to conduct crash demonstrations. Unlike GM tests, the fuel tanks were filled with real gasoline. Look what happened. that impact, a small hole was punctured in the tank. According to our experts, the pressure of the collision and the crushing of the gas tank forced gasoline to spew from the gas cap. The fuel then erupted into flames when ignited by the impacting car's headlight.
After the program airs, one of the firemen at the taping of the crash contacts GM.
Ta-da.
Okay, so we had to stop it just for a moment because when we said this is pure fraud, they said the fire was caused by the headlight of the car impacting the truck. That's baloney. The fire is caused by incendiary devices put underneath the vehicle. And then they said the gas tank was punctured in the process of the side collision. No, it was not. GM had to hunt to find this truck. Obviously, they carefully hid it because they went to over 200 junkyards before they located the truck. And no, it didn't have a punctured tank. They had just overfilled the tank, put the wrong gas cap on it, like we said, and then put incendiary devices underneath the vehicle. Now, what you're going to hear, this is how when somebody is busted red-handed, meaning the mainstream media, and in this particular case, NBC. This is how NBC handles an apology. It's not even close to being one. Let's listen to it.
The conversation inspires a full-scale investigation. 3 months later, NBC is forced to reveal their role in fabricating the news.
NBC's contractor did put incendiary devices under the trucks to ensure that there would be a fire if gasoline were released from the truck's gas tank.
We said the crash, quote, forced gasoline to spew from the fuel cap, end quote. GM says since the gas cap was the wrong cap for the GM filler tube, and because the gas tank was overfilled, the cap came off when the impact occurred.
We agree with GM that we should have told our viewers about these devices.
The Dateline reporter, however, said, quote, at impact, a small hole was punctured in the tank, unquote. GM has now x-rayed that tank and found no hole.
We acknowledge the placing of the incendiary devices under the truck was a bad idea from start to finish.
That's our new policy, and we'll be right back.
What? So what's their new policy? That was in 1993. What was their new policy?
What was their old policy?
Yeah, what was the old policy? And did you notice that in the apology they say, we have acknowledged that putting incendiary, we agree with GM. Go play her comment again if you could, where she makes this.
Was a bad idea from start to finish.
Okay, go back a little bit further.
New policy, and impact occurred.
Go back to
where
we
agree with GM
right
that
there.
We should have told our viewers about these devices.
The Dateline reporter, however.
Okay, pause it there. Okay, it says we agree that with GM that we should have told our viewers about these devices. Guess what? If you're out there trying to create a collision with a vehicle with an incendiary device on it and an overfilled tank and a gas cap that is designed to pop right off the minute the thing gets struck, we agree with GM that we should have told people about these devices. These are completely brain dead people. Yeah, that's what you call news fraud. And that's what then you see this apology. This is a complete non-apology. We agree with GM. We should have told people about these devices. How about if we back up and go, who is the bleeping idiot who came up with this idea to begin with?
What was their old policy, though?
Yeah, what was the... Yeah, we have... this will not be our policy in the future. So yeah, exactly. What was the policy beforehand? And now today, if you tune in to NBC and you see all of their posturing going on as it pertains to the news, you're like, well, I guess the policy just is what it is.
Well, Kevin, if you didn't know, Facebook suddenly stopped our broadcast. But we're still on Patreon and Twitch.
Yeah, Facebook doesn't want us to talk about their fake news or fraudulent news on NBC.
Or maybe even the armed forces.
Yeah, that could be. That could be. All right, well, you know what? For the benefit of our viewers, though, we'll take this video and repost it on our Facebook site after the YouTube broadcast. broadcast has ended. So anyway, that is not just fake news, but fraudulent news. And apparently Facebook doesn't like us talking about fake news as it pertains to mainstream media and sharing this kind of footage, which shows that these networks have been frauds for a long, long time. All right, so what do we got on local news today, Kyle?
Well, I do have a question from Michael, if you'd like to answer that. How can I get our logo for the Wounded Warriors PNW on your header board? And I believe it's this.
Yes. All right, Michael, you can send us the logo via email to wainfo2017@gmail.com. Again, that's WAINFO 2017@gmail.com. Shoot us the logo, and we'll be glad to take care of that for you. Wounded Warriors, PNW, on your headerboard. We'll be glad to do it. All right, so let's talk about some local event stuff coming up. The YMCA Summer Day Camps start on June 18th, and hard to believe that that's just around the corner. But these camps run every single week, all through the summer. Also wanted to remind everybody there is the Rusty Scuppers Day coming up on June 22nd, 23rd, 24th. And that will, it's the Pirate Days. Rusty Scuppers Pirate Days. And it is a fabulous event out there. The local pirates, the R Pirates, it's a association of rapscallions and river rats, I think that stands for. They will have a boat entered, sponsored by Northwest Digital News, in the Rusty Scuppers Pirate Days up there. So we'll be sure to share a bunch of footage of that cool pirate ship when it hits the water. So then also on July 4th, and we'll have Ray Ryder back in here a couple weeks before this event pulls off, but starts a beginning of summer, a series called Rockin' the Docks. You can go to rockinthedocksconcerts.com to find more information on the events. But if you got a band in the area and you'd like to play at some of the events coming up, and this is in Goble, which is just a short jaunt south on Highway 30 from Rainier. So you can check that out. All right, this is going to wrap up our show here on Northwest Digital News.
Let me just showcase the Rockin' the Docks.
You want to showcase the web page up there real quick.
So rockinthedocksconcerts.com. That is the email. I'll be posting the email in the comments, of course. And if you'd like to contact him, he does have a contact around here.
Click on the contact page. We'll read it for people here.
Location plus contact.
There you go.
So you can leave your name, email, subject, message, and also has his phone number, his email, his address, everything. So if you're, again, a band that would like to play at a venue, this is actually a pretty cool venue.
So the venue, leave that up there a little higher on the screen real quick so I can see that. The venue is at 70360 Columbia River Highway. That's Rainier, Oregon. It's actually, the venue is considered Goble. But you can call them, and that number was just there a second ago. It keeps going away. The number was there at 503-556-6510. Again, 503-556-6510. And you can also email Ray Ryder at opusnet.com. That's Ray Ryder, R-A-Y-R-Y-D-E-R, Ray Ryder at opusnet.com. So get your bands out there to Goble this summer for the Rockin' the Docks series. And special thanks to Ray for dropping by this weekend. It was actually Friday. We shared that here on Northwest Digital News. So thanks for joining us here on the broadcast. And then we have a show coming up on Wednesday, which we'll be joining you for that. And then on Friday, we do a road trip, which we're going to share with you a bunch of live footage from our road trip on Friday. And then on Saturday, we are hoping to have one of the first candidate debates of this area affecting the 19th district.
Hosted by Northwest Digital News.
Hosted by Northwest Digital News, yes. One of the candidates is currently deployed. That's Joel McIntyre. And we'll be doing a debate with Brian Blake via video conference here on Northwest Digital News. So, all right, well, that concludes our show here for today. Thanks, as always, to everybody for joining us here on this special broadcast. I'm Kevin Hunter Kyle Torgerson has been pushing the buttons and making all the crazy behind-the-scenes thing happen.
I also like to apologize to our Twitch viewers for not responding to them. I was clicked away, so I didn't see the Twitch.
All right. lot of comment streams.
Haven't kicked. I think that's how you pronounce your name. Hello, shout out.
All right. Well, thanks as always joining us here on Northwest Digital News. Till next time, take care.